The Galactic Empire broadcasted the footage across the stars, their elites laughing at the sheer incompetence of Earth's so-called prototype warship. The transmission played on thousands of worlds, showing a massive human-built ship struggling to maneuver during its first test flight. Its engines sputtered, its shields flickered weakly, and its weapons barely fired before shorting out. The alien commentators sneered, calling it a disgrace, a waste of resources, a perfect example of why primitive species had no place among the stars. "Look at them," an alien reporter scoffed, his reptilian face twisted in amusement. "They dare call this a warship. This is an insult to true naval power. Humanity is nothing more than a joke, a species desperately reaching for a destiny they will never achieve." Across the galaxy, the laughter spread. But on Earth, in the hidden depths of a secure military facility, there was no laughter, only silence. Admiral Ethan Graves watched the broadcast with cold eyes. His fingers curled into a fist as he listened to the mocking voices of the alien commentators. Around him, a room filled with Earth's top military officials, engineers, and scientists remained deadly quiet. Some clenched their jaws, some exchanged glances, but none spoke. The footage was not unexpected. They had allowed it to leak. A younger officer, Lieutenant Sarah Cole, couldn't contain herself any longer. "They think they've won. They think we're weak," she said, her voice filled with restrained fury. "They don't understand." Ethan exhaled slowly, his gaze shifting to the engineers who had worked day and night on the real project. Dr. Henry Wallace, the lead scientist, met his eyes with a knowing smirk. He was an older man, his face lined with exhaustion, but his eyes burning with something far more dangerous than anger, satisfaction. "They're laughing at exactly what we wanted them to laugh at," Wallace said. "The test was never meant to succeed. It was a distraction, a trick. That ship was nothing but a decoy." Cole's eyes widened. "You mean?" "The real prototype is already operational," Ethan confirmed. "They just don't know it yet." The room remained silent for a few seconds before the weight of his words truly sank in. Then, a slow grin spread across Wallace's face. Others began to nod, realization dawning on them. Humanity had spent years hiding its true progress, letting the Galactic Empire believe Earth was nothing but a backwater civilization, struggling to build even a single competent warship. The Empire had fallen for the deception completely. "The real ship," Ethan continued, turning toward the massive holographic display in the center of the room, "is called Nemesis X." The image flickered to life, revealing something entirely different from the sluggish, broken prototype the Empire had mocked. Nemesis X was sleek, heavily armored, and equipped with technology far beyond anything humanity had ever shown to the outside world. Its energy weapons were unlike anything seen before, its defensive systems layered with experimental shielding that could adapt mid-battle. But its most terrifying feature was something no other warship in the galaxy had: its ability to manipulate gravity itself. "We let them laugh," Wallace said, stepping forward. "Because now, they won't see it coming." Across the stars, the Galactic Empire had already moved forward with its plans. They saw Earth as defenseless, humiliated, and weak. The broadcast of the failed prototype had spread like wildfire, confirming their belief that humanity was no threat. Emperor Xalvok, ruler of the Empire, did not even consider Earth worthy of a full-scale invasion. Instead, he sent a single battle group, a small fleet, just enough to pacify the humans and remind them of their place. Admiral Vorkath, the Imperial officer assigned to the operation, barely paid attention as he reviewed the mission details aboard his flagship. Earth's defenses were pathetic. No planetary shield, no space stations of any significance. Their largest fleet was laughable, with barely a few dozen outdated ships that would be obliterated in minutes. And now, their one hope, a prototype warship, had been exposed as a complete failure. "Ridiculous," Vorkath muttered to himself, shaking his head. The Emperor is wasting my time with this mission. He turned to his second-in-command, a cold-eyed officer named Rilkar. Prepare the fleet. We jump to Earth immediately. Let's end this quickly. Back on Earth, Ethan Graves and his team watched as the Imperial battle group approached. The time for deception was over. The enemy was coming, fully believing they were about to crush an inferior species. Activate Nemesis X, Ethan ordered. The massive warship, hidden in a secret military facility buried deep within the asteroid belt, roared to life. Its engines hummed with unnatural energy, its weapons charged, its shields pulsing with a power no other warship in the galaxy had ever seen. The moment had arrived. The Empire thought this would be an easy victory. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. 2 seconds. The Imperial battle group emerged from hyperspace just beyond Earth's orbit, their sleek warships cutting through the darkness like hungry predators. The fleet consisted of a dozen cruisers, 2 battleships, and the flagship Tyrant's Fist, a colossal dreadnought armed with enough firepower to reduce an entire planet to ash. Admiral Vorkath stood on the bridge of his command vessel, arms folded behind his back, watching as his forces moved into position. The humans had barely responded. There was no attempt to flee, no defensive formations being arranged. Their fleet, if it could even be called that, remained scattered across the system like lost children. Their outdated ships floated helplessly, outclassed in every way. Vorkath sneered. "This will be over before it begins," he muttered. His second-in-command, Captain Rilkar, stepped forward. "Orders, Admiral." Vorkath didn't even glance at him. "Open a channel to the humans." A moment later, a holographic projection flickered to life in front of him, revealing Admiral Ethan Graves aboard Earth's command station. His expression was unreadable, his posture relaxed. Vorkath felt a flicker of amusement. The human was either brave or foolish, perhaps both. "Admiral Graves," Vorkath said smoothly, "I assume you know why we're here." Ethan met his gaze without flinching. "I do." "Then you know that resistance is pointless. The Galactic Empire has been patient with your species, but you've overstepped your bounds. Your attempts at warship development are laughable. Your defenses are non-existent. Surrender now, and I may be inclined to show mercy." There was a pause. Then Ethan did something Vorkath did not expect. He smiled. Vorkath's amusement faded. "You find this funny?" Ethan leaned forward slightly. "I just think it's ironic. You came all this way, expecting to break us. But you never stopped to consider that maybe, just maybe, you were walking into a trap." Vorkath frowned. "A trap? What are you talking about?" Before Ethan could respond, alarms blared across the Tyrant's Fist. The bridge crew scrambled, scanning their instruments, confusion and panic spreading like wildfire. Vorkath's command console flashed red as his officers yelled over one another. "Sir, an unknown ship just appeared on our scanners." "That's impossible. Nothing was there a second ago." Vorkath turned sharply toward the view screen and froze. A single warship had materialized right behind his fleet. It was enormous, but unlike any human ship he had ever seen. Its hull was jet black, pulsing with an eerie blue energy. No visible engines, no exposed weak points. It hovered like a ghost, silent, menacing, and completely unreadable. Ethan's voice came through the channel, calm and confident. "Meet Nemesis X." For the first time in his career, Admiral Vorkath felt something foreign creeping into his mind. Uncertainty. Rilkar turned toward him, his reptilian features stiff. "Sir, what do we do?" Vorkath clenched his jaw. "We destroy it." He turned to his weapons officer. "All ships, open fire. Now." The order rang through the fleet. Within seconds, 1,000 beams of plasma, railgun rounds, and missile salvos tore through space, screaming toward the lone human warship, the combined firepower of an Imperial battle group, enough to annihilate entire civilizations, rushed forward in a brilliant storm of destruction. The attacks hit. And then something happened that should have been impossible. The energy of the blasts bent, rippling as if space itself had warped. The missiles veered off course, spiraling helplessly before detonating harmlessly in the void. The plasma beams twisted mid-flight, refracted, and shattered into harmless sparks. Railgun rounds that should have shredded any armor slowed to a crawl, as if gravity itself had changed its rules. Nemesis X remained untouched. Vorkath's heart pounded. What in the name of? And then it retaliated. The ship fired one shot. A single, concentrated pulse of gravity surged forward, rippling through space like an invisible tidal wave. An Imperial cruiser was the first to be hit. One moment it was intact. The next, it imploded in on itself, crushed as if a black hole had formed inside its core. The crew didn't even have time to scream. The bridge of the tyrant's fist fell into stunned silence. Another pulse fired. This time, 2 cruisers collapsed instantly. No fire, no explosions, just erased. Panic spread through the Imperial fleet. Ships scrambled to reposition, but the Nemesis X was already moving. It shifted through space at unnatural speeds, blinking in and out of visibility, appearing at random points before striking with horrifying precision. "Sir, we're losing ships too fast," an officer shouted. "They're cutting through us like we're nothing." Vorkath's claws dug into the railing. This was not possible. Humans were not supposed to have technology like this. This was something beyond them, something beyond the Empire itself. Ethan's voice returned, steady and filled with certainty. "You should have left us alone." Vorkath's breath came in ragged gasps. For the first time in his life, he realized he was losing. "You said." The battlefield was a graveyard of twisted metal and silent wreckage. The Nemesis X drifted through the carnage, untouched, unchallenged, and utterly dominant. What had started as a routine operation, a simple display of power to put humanity in its place, had become a nightmare for the Galactic Empire. Admiral Vorkath stood frozen on the bridge of the tyrant's fist, his mind struggling to process the impossible. His fleet was being annihilated. The Nemesis X was not a warship. It was a force of nature. He had fought countless battles. He had crushed rebellions, burned entire colonies, and watched civilizations beg for mercy. But never, never had he seen one ship dismantle an entire battle group with such ease. "Sir, we've lost the Bloodfang. Starpiercer is going down." Vindicator just. A static-filled scream cut through the comms as another Imperial battleship collapsed in on itself, the Nemesis X's gravity weapon tearing it apart like paper in a hurricane. Vorkath's claws dug into the console, his breathing sharp and erratic. "This isn't possible," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. His second-in-command, Captain Rilkar, was pale. "Sir, we have to retreat." Vorkath turned on him, fury momentarily breaking through the fear. "We do not retreat. We are the Galactic Empire. We do not run from primitives." "Sir, they are not primitive," Rilkar said, voice tight with controlled terror. "We miscalculated. They let us think they were weak. This ship, this weapon, it's something we've never seen before." Vorkath knew he was right. He hated it, but he knew. Another explosion rocked the bridge as a nearby Imperial cruiser lost control and spiraled into a burning wreck, crashing into the remains of another destroyed vessel. "Sir," an officer shouted, panic rising in his voice. "The Nemesis X is charging another shot. It's targeting us." Vorkath's stomach turned to ice. A single pulse from that ship could erase the tyrant's fist in an instant. It was no longer a battle. It was an execution. For the first time in his life, Admiral Vorkath made the decision to flee. "All remaining ships, fall back," he roared. "Jump to hyperspace. Now." The bridge crew scrambled to comply. Across the fleet, the surviving ships activated their emergency jump drives. One by one, they vanished into the depths of space, running from a single human warship. Vorkath's hands trembled as the tyrant's fist prepared to make its own jump. His pride was shattered, his confidence reduced to dust. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not primitive. Humanity had played them all. As his ship's engines roared to life, the last thing he saw on the view screen was the Nemesis X, hovering silently among the wreckage, its hull gleaming in the dark. It had not pursued them. It had not needed to. The message was clear. This was humanity's warning. And next time, there would be no survivors. "You said." Admiral Vorkath sat in silence, his claws tightening against the armrests of his command chair. The tyrant's fist had managed to escape, but the loss was immeasurable. His battle group, one of the Empire's finest, had been erased by a single human warship. The bridge of the dreadnought was eerily quiet. His officers were still in shock, their movements stiff and hesitant. No one dared to speak of what had happened. Vorkath's mind raced. He needed to report to high command. He needed to explain how an enemy the Empire had considered inferior had wielded such overwhelming power. But what could he even say? That the humans had built a ship that defied the laws of physics. That their weapons had failed before they could even touch it. No, he would not admit weakness. He turned toward Captain Rilkar. "Prepare a transmission to the Imperial Council. We will tell them that the battle was a setback, but nothing more." Rilkar hesitated. "Sir, they will ask why we lost so many ships." Vorkath's expression darkened. "Then we will tell them the truth. The humans have developed a dangerous prototype, but it is only one vessel. The Empire remains superior. We will return with a full invasion force and wipe them from existence." The captain gave a slow nod, though the doubt in his eyes was clear. The transmission was sent. The response was swift. A hologram flickered to life in front of Vorkath, revealing Lord High Chancellor Maltheron, one of the most powerful figures in the Empire. His golden eyes burned with disdain as he studied the admiral. "Admiral Vorkath," Maltheron said coldly, "you were given 12 ships to bring humanity to its knees. You return with 3. Explain yourself." Vorkath straightened. "My lord, we encountered an anomaly. The humans have constructed a warship unlike anything in the known galaxy. Its defenses are impenetrable, its weapons beyond comprehension. Maltheron raised a hand, silencing him. "You are telling me that the great galactic empire, the most advanced military power in existence, was defeated by a single primitive vessel." Vorkath's jaw clenched. "It is not primitive. It is a threat that must be taken seriously. If we do not..." Maltheron's gaze grew colder. "You failed, Admiral, and failure has consequences." Vorkath stiffened. He had expected punishment, but not what came next. "The Imperial Council has already decided," Maltheron continued. "You are hereby relieved of command." The words struck like a dagger to the chest. "My lord." Maltheron's voice was final. "Your incompetence has embarrassed the Empire. You are no longer fit to lead." The transmission cut out. For a long moment, the bridge was silent. Then, Imperial guards stepped forward. Vorkath said nothing as they seized him by the arms, dragging him from the bridge of the tyrant's fist. His career was over. And yet, as he was escorted away, a chilling thought gripped him. If the Empire refused to take humanity seriously, then their arrogance would be their downfall. "You said." The Galactic Empire did not tolerate failure. Admiral Vorkath had learned it the hard way. Stripped of his rank, he had been cast aside like waste, left to rot in disgrace. But Vorkath knew one thing with absolute certainty: the Empire was making a fatal mistake. They had laughed at the humans, mocked their technology, treated them like insects to be crushed beneath the might of the Imperial fleet. And now, one ship had turned the Empire's laughter into screams. Vorkath sat alone in the cold cell of a military prison station, abandoned by those he once commanded. But he did not waste time feeling sorry for himself. He was still alive, and that meant he had a chance. A chance to prepare. A chance to warn them. Because if the humans had built one ship like the Nemesis X, then it was only a matter of time before they built more. And when they did, the Empire would burn. Meanwhile, on the imperial capital world of Zilrath, the High Council met in a grand chamber of polished obsidian and towering pillars. At its center stood Lord High Chancellor Maltherin, his golden robes shimmering under the artificial glow of the chamber's lights. He stood before a gathering of the most powerful warlords and strategists of the Empire. They had all seen the reports. They all knew what had happened, but none of them were willing to accept it. A single ship, one warlord scoffed, his voice dripping with disbelief. One ship cannot pose a threat to the greatest empire in the galaxy. Maltherin's cold gaze silenced him, and yet it destroyed an entire battle group. General Razik, do you have an explanation for that? The general shifted uncomfortably. They must have stolen the technology, another council member suggested. Perhaps from the precursors. Maltherin shook his head. We have no evidence of that. And even if they did, the fact remains, they have it now. The room fell into uneasy silence. Finally, Maltherin spoke again. This is not an isolated incident. Humanity has hidden its true strength from us. If we do not act decisively, it will become a problem we cannot contain. A warlord growled. Then let us send the full might of the Empire. Wipe them from the stars before they have a chance to build more of these ships. Maltherin's lips curled into a thin smile. Exactly. Back on Earth, inside a secret underground military complex, Commander Elias Voss stood before a massive screen displaying the wreckage of the Imperial fleet. The room was filled with military officers and scientists, all watching in silence as the recordings of the Nemesis X's battle played on repeat. Voss turned to the chief engineer, Dr. Lina Carter. How long until we can build more? Dr. Carter exhaled. The prototype exceeded expectations, but it also exposed some weaknesses. We need more time to perfect the next generation. We don't have time, Voss said sharply. The Empire will return. In force. Dr. Carter nodded. We'll be ready. Voss turned back to the screen, watching as the Nemesis X hovered silently over the ruins of the enemy fleet. Humanity had revealed its hand. Now, the real war was about to begin. You said, the Imperial invasion fleet was the largest armada the galaxy had ever seen. 1,500 warships, each bristling with the most advanced weapons the Empire had ever created, now surged toward Earth with a single purpose: eradication. The Galactic Empire had underestimated humanity once. That mistake would not be repeated. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, the Empire's most powerful dreadnought, Lord High Chancellor Maltherin watched the vast fleet spread out before him. He had given the order himself: total war. Humanity will be erased, he said, his voice a calm promise of destruction. Leave no survivors. The officers on the bridge nodded in silent agreement. There was no doubt in their minds. The Empire would crush this insignificant species. But what they didn't know, what none of them could have predicted, was that Earth was ready. Deep beneath the surface of Luna Base, Earth's hidden military stronghold, Commander Elias Voss stood before a holographic display of the incoming fleet. The room was tense, filled with military leaders and scientists, all watching as the largest invasion force in history closed in on their planet. They're not taking chances this time, Voss muttered. Dr. Lina Carter stood beside him, her arms crossed. Good, neither are we. She tapped a control panel, and the hologram shifted. Across the solar system, hundreds of hidden weapons platforms activated. Defense satellites hummed to life, and most importantly, the first wave of Earth's new warships began to rise from their secret shipyards. Voss allowed himself a small smile. The Empire thought they were attacking the defenseless world. They were wrong. As the Imperial fleet entered the outer reaches of the solar system, the first warning came. An energy spike unlike anything their sensors had ever detected. Maltherin frowned as the alarm blared. Report. A sensor officer's hands trembled over his console. Sir, I don't know how, but they have a fleet. A massive one. Maltheron's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Our spies reported no large-scale warships. The officer swallowed hard. Then our spies were wrong. On the view screen, the battlefield came alive. Hundreds of human warships emerged from the darkness of space, and at their center, leading the charge, was Nemesis X. Maltheron felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Humanity wasn't just fighting back. They were out for blood.